But let's talk about what happened this morning. Okay, so we got this CPI number, this big inflation report, and exactly as you and I had expected, it's more of the same. Inflation continues to rise, but at a slower pace. Okay, so inflation is still rising. Imagine my shock. Oh no, imagine your shock. Food inflation was the real kicker here, rising much more than expected. Well, what other way to destroy people than making sure they have to pay more for what they need just to sustain their freaking lives? Now, this gets even worse here. So not only is inflation continuing to rise, and a surprise here, I didn't mean for that to rhyme, with regard to food, but real wages are now down again. This is basically an ongoing saga, and it's not going to stop. Real wages, what people are earning based against rising inflation. You understand? Okay, I think you do if you follow this blog. This phenomenon is not going to stop for as far as the eye can see. So regardless of anything else, people are getting, well, much more poor, and they're being forced to destroy themselves. I mean, what's happening here, the Federal Reserve, central banks around the world are giving people enough rope just to hang themselves.
And that the stock market may be primed for a banner year, so which is it? Joining me now is Chief Economist at Euro Pacific Asset Management, a friend of the show, Peter Schiff. Peter, always appreciate your perspective. I'm watching the PPI, inflation, the constant printing of money. I know you're concerned about inflation like I am. Labor market's starting to soften a little bit. I don't know where this optimism for the stock market's coming from. Maybe you have a different perspective. What's your take?
Yeah, I think the optimism is unfounded. I don't think it's going to be a good year for the stock market. I think there are going to be some stocks that do well. Unfortunately, most Americans don't own those stocks. The ones that they do own are going to go down. The very popular stocks that a lot of people have crowded into during the bubble, these stocks, even though they've come down a lot in 2022, they still have a long way to fall. And I think there's a lot of risk in 2023, not just in the market, but in the economy.
Yeah, Peter, there was an op-ed in the New York Post making the rounds. I think it was Ken Fisher who wrote it. And the premise was that, well, listen, a lot of the negativity's already been kind of written into the jobs program where tech companies, Amazon and others, have already laid off a lot of these people. So in other words, this kind of happened earlier decades ago. So there may be a rebound because the bad news is kind of written into the script. Your take on that?
Well, I think people are underestimating just how bad the news is going to get. First of all, a lot of people think that inflation is going to come down. It's not. I think the decline is what's transitory. I think we're going to be making new year-over-year highs in inflation before the end of the year. And the recession that everybody denies exists is actually going to get worse. So we're going to have a weaker economy and stronger inflation. And the markets are not expecting that, and neither is the Fed.
Good evening, 7:39 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Thursday, January 12th, 2023. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Florida for the next several days. I wanted to come at you with this update, a post-CPI release and end-of-the-day wrap-up. As you see, I started off with Gregory Mannarino to fill you in with the gaps, and then also Peter Schiff for pretty much a warning for 2023, saying that inflation by the end of the year is going to be worse than it is now. And it's just something that I think that you should take into account. I believe the only way that we're going to be able to do this together is if I start sharing you the proper people so that you can watch somebody else on social media that can help fill in the gaps. So as you've seen, I've been sharing a lot more of Gregory Mannarino. I think it's an embarrassment that his video has only got 20,000 views. I know a lot of that is because YouTube doesn't put him through the algorithm. Same thing with Peter Schiff. So we need to start helping those guys out. the ones who really see what's going on and that can help us in the longer game. For anybody who's a fan of commodities, gold and silver, this update to start, although we'll finish with XRP as we are sitting at that 375 level we talked about earlier. That's one of Chris's major resistance support lines. You know, I mean, you can call it whatever you want at that part of the pattern. But he's had a real big eye on that 375. He's part of the Telegram, been a member of this community for a very long time. And as you'll notice as well, I'll be talking more about other people who have shared things. Even if it's something I've seen or something I understand, if somebody from the community shares it, I'm going to start spotlighting them more. That's why you've been hearing a lot more about Josh, and a lot more about Chris, and a lot more about Trips, and a lot more about Ruby, because these are the people that consistently, and there's also a couple different Chris's now actually, but these people have started to engage, you know, with the more engagement. Darren's engaging a lot. Steven, there's a lot of you guys, and I know I'm going to miss a lot of you right now, and gals, like Tanya. So, you know, it is what it is, but this community is getting stronger. The weak links are falling out. The ones who don't want to be a part of it are leaving, but the ones who are sticking around are finding an unbelievable run right now that we're having in our gold and silver. We've been buying gold and silver for some time, and we cleaned up, absolutely cleaned up, when we were much farther down. And the biggest part where we cleaned up was late 2022 in October, in the September area. So basically July, August, September, and October, we cleaned up. Not necessarily on gold, which, as you can see right now, we've held the 1680 support. Coming up here, we've got all the way up to 2095 before we hit a real big resistance area if you're looking at it from the 1 week time frame. And that's what I like to look at with gold, because right now we are reversing back and it looks like it was a fake out, and we actually were able to use that 200-day and slightly under it as support, and now we're pushing back up. I'm not saying that we're out of the woods just yet, because what is more than likely going to happen is we're going to hit a crescendo point here, and all of a sudden gold and silver is going to have to find a massive retracement. Not that I think it's going to come down like a crazy amounts, but gold and silver is looking to be starting the biggest bull run in history in precious metals, because it's going to be a multi-year bull market once it starts officially. Right now we're back to almost $1,900 an ounce. So for everybody who talks about the store of value, let's do a comparison real quick. Gold last year, 1 year time frame after this move. In the past year, gold's up $63, 3.47%. So if you use gold as a store of value over the last year, as I would advise you to, mainly silver nowadays, but gold's a great store of value as well. I say stack your silver to get more gold. I do have about 5 ounces of gold, but I have, the ratio is likely the same, but I don't even know how many. Probably 700 plus ounces of silver, a couple ounces of platinum, and some copper just so I can have it. But the point is right now, if I had a store of value $10,000 in gold, it's up about 3.47%. You're talking I might have made, 10,000. It's not much. 10,000 maybe made about $345 in the past year. Hey, you know what? Not bad for just letting it sit there, right? Instead of having it sit in the bank and being killed by inflation where our money's getting hammered, and you can buy about 15% less than you could last year at this time. Instead, I have 3.45% more instead of being in the greenback. So you have that going for you. Now, if you look at silver in the last year, and as you can see, I'm fitting in the charts for you, silver is in this ascending triangle pattern. $24.85 would have to break before this pattern can turn it from being this little bearish thesis. Even though it's been bullish here, I'm saying to make this pattern continue to another high and continue to break out past the $25 mark. We have to break through that and ultimately hold this $23.75 at some point, or it's going to be this uptrending support that has worked its way out as a new pattern formation. That it could come all the way back to $22.35, but it eventually is going to have to break out. The point is past $24.68 ultimately to break out to the next level. Now in the last year, and underneath, if we were to break down, that's how you get the $22.20 approximately. Next level would be about $19.50. followed by about 1844, 1807, 1629. I'm not saying it's getting there, but those are your levels underneath. Above, I'm not worried about because we have to break out of a major pattern formation. But what I was going to say as well is silver, and this, for anybody who likes silver and gold, you're going to eat this update up, and then you're going to have to wait for everybody on XRP until the very end. You know why? Because everybody always skips through my gold and silver updates, and if this video only gets 50 views, I don't give two fucks. You understand that? Me to you. Because it's time for us to start taking control of our finances, and if I don't help you do it, no one's going to. If you can't see that gold and silver is the way to go for your store of value, you're in a lot of trouble. Even silver, which had a massive breakdown, in the past year, you were down 1.90%. Not even, 1.82%. Which means if you had $10,000, now you've got about $9,800. Not bad. With inflation, it's better than only having $8,700 due to inflation. Or being able to have the purchasing power of $8,700. Even though the US dollar has gone up and you might feel like the dollar amount has gone up, when you go to the grocery store, it sucks. And with inflation, this dollar amount is going to continue to crash down, and then it depends where you buy it and where you're holding it and where your paycheck came in. It's just a whole big mess. So, in the last year, silver's rebounding now, but silver's basically flat. You're down about $200 on 10 grand. Now, if you look at Bitcoin, on the other hand, let's go down to our friend. And Bitcoin's had a hell of a pump to start the year. Right? Year to date, Bitcoin's up about 9.5%. So, hey, but if we go to the 1 year, and the year to date's only 10 days, folks, so let's not get excited. Or 12, or whatever the hell today's date is. I don't fucking know. Great vacation I'm on. Whole bunch of drama. But that's neither here nor there. If you stored your value in Bitcoin, like, what's Numbnut's name? Fuck. Michael Saylor, you know, all of the news, all of social media will tell you that Bitcoin's the new store of value. Congratulations, Nancy. It's going to hurt. This one hit you in the dick. You're down from $10,000 and you've got about $5,200 left. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You've lost half your money in 1 year's time. Now are you going to ride it? Or are you going to take it out and put it in something else? Or are you just like, fuck, it's down 50%, I can't go anywhere from here. You know, that's up to you. Speaking of Bitcoin, we'll quickly touch base with Bitcoin. As you can see, and if you're following my updates, or if you're new, you're not going to know this, but you can go back and do a couple updates ago when we talked about 20,116 would be a likely area that we could come up to. I said I didn't know if it could come higher than that, or if it's realistically going to break this area. But I said that there was a more than not possibility, and I gave it a pretty strong possibility to actually retest that 20,116 just because of where XRP is. XRP's got unfinished business, and we'll get to that. It's already hit one milestone, but it's not the ultimate milestone, unfortunately. Especially if we break and hold this area. So Bitcoin, 18,600, if we hold that, you're not automatically, but your next major resistance would be 20,116. And I know there's a lot of shit in between. I don't give a fuck about it. I don't care about the 19,300 level. I don't. Because to me, if we show enough strength to hold this area, why not fake everybody out just past 20,000 to get everybody's, balls all getting off, where we have our jollies rocking. And you know what? I'm not the cleanest person, folks. But that's who I am. And if you can't accept that, you can go watch the Jabroni Central. You can go watch We're Gonna Pump Central. You can go watch We're Mooning to the Rocks. Because guess what? We're not going to the moon right now. Or over the past year. Hell, who knows? In some alternative world, in an alternative reality, someone's happy they're down 50%. But until you understand what is really going on in front of you, you're in a lot of trouble. I showed you the year to date. But what I didn't show you on gold and silver was where we've been buying it. How we've been buying it. How much we bought when it was under 1,700 and closer to 1,600. And mainly, when the gold-silver ratio, and this is how I'm going to end this. When the gold-silver ratio, well, no, we can't end it just yet because I want to show you one other thing with XRP. And we talked about how XRP is coming up to these levels. XRP, when it broke out of this ascending or this bear flag formation, this 355 was critical for me. You break the 355 and all of a sudden you hold that and it opened this up, and everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about. It opened up this move to the symmetrical triangle. Unless it gets rejected here, this is where I targeted it and showed everybody on a couple updates ago. I thought it would reach that level if it were to breach here before it could get any kind of rejection. And I put that there as a remembrance so I could tell everybody. The obvious thing though here is, like I was trying to tell everybody, and don't get your panties in a bunch. Because like everybody keeps asking me, when's a good time to buy XRP? Sub 40 cents is a great time to start, like I've been saying from the beginning. A lot of people keep asking me in the comments, when did you sell your XRP? And when did you buy it originally? 47 cents on average. I bought some in the 30s, some in the 50s, some in the 60s, but it was a 47 cents on average. I sold it at $1.66 wholesale. Not on the way up, after I allowed it to drop from $1.98 all the way down to $1.26, and then it came back up to $1.66. It was up to $1.74 or $1.76 on the push, and I decided $1.66 was my limit. If it hit that again, it was an auto sale, and I did it. I made over 400% when you add it all together, so I was happy. I have not bought back in yet. I bought one time at 287 and 318. But I sold it when we had a massive rally real quick back up, which I didn't want it to go back up this high, but it went to like 45 cents where I sold it. So again, I was forced to sell because I'm not holding it to the bottom with how much I had bought. I just bought it because I seen we were going to have moves that were going back up, and I was hoping it would push lower so I'd never have to sell it to get more money to buy more. So what I've done in the meantime is ZIL got to a level where I could buy. I bought 18,000 plus shares when I was around the 1.6 mark and started staking it since October. I bought with DGB 42,222 shares around the same time because DGB went all the way down to 0.0062 and some change. Now it's back up over 0.084. You know, ZIL's back up to 0.024 or 0.24 from 1.6. And then I bought 222 algo at, I don't know, 17 cents, 17.5. I showed everybody when I did it. But it was only $40-something. And it's I should have bought more, honestly. It was to a level where I was going to buy like 1,000 shares. But I was putting more during the summer into silver and gold because it had collapsed. Most of the stuff I bought in silver and gold is up a spectacular amount already, and it's only been a certain amount of time. But I look at gold and silver as my store of value. Simple. I was getting a bunch more for my value of my dollar, and I'll show you something once we get to the gold silver chart. But with XRP, we're looking to hold these levels. The 355 was a major hold point. We continued to hold and push up, and now we're on top of the symmetrical triangle, or trying to be on top of the symmetrical triangle support at 371, 372. To me, 372 is the ultimate because of where we're at in the uptrending or the symmetrical support. I said 371, but it's 372. But no. If it holds 371, that's why I did that, because then it could come down with the wick. So if it holds 371 and can push up, this will maintain a bullish pattern, even though it's not technically a bullish pattern. I'm talking about short-term bias. If we go back to the weekly and the monthly, it's not so great. But right now, you could theoretically, we have a huge bear flag here, folks. You could theoretically fill this gap, come up all the way to 44, surpass that, come up to this gap all the way at 58, and then ultimately say, you know what, we didn't have enough strength to break down, and we have a massive rally. And I've been telling everybody this for months. It can come up to 80 cents. I don't expect it. I think it's very unlikely with the volume. You see the volume is crashing as we try to make a rally back up. There's no volume if you look in the daily. I don't care what anybody says. Show me the volume. Even this volume that came in back here, does that compare anything to this dump volume? No. And we had a little buy volume here, but it quickly dissipated and turned into sell volume. The likelihood is here, this bearish continuation pattern is going to play out. This bear flag is going to bring us down to new lows. And it's going to ultimately bring us, I think this, I don't like to put timetables on it, but if I was a betting man, I'd say sometime in March is going to be where we probably experience some kind of major low. Or in April, But this rest of this bullshit in the first quarter, it's just that. You've got new people buying now because it's the new year. They're setting up their losses or gains for the end of the year. Some people sold out just to buy back so they could sell their losses. And some people are going to end up selling out during this rise up. It's a no-win situation right here. The only way you can win right now is if you're buying things that are down 85% and they're hitting targets. And you're buying your fucking gold and silver. What the fuck are you waiting for? I'm sorry about the language, but what are you waiting for? We were at $1,600, barely over that. Silver was hanging on by a ball hair to 18 bucks. And every fucking time I put out a video about gold and silver, guess how many views it got? Dick! I'm trying to help each one of you, each and every one of you. But until you take control of your financial future, you're fucked. If you're taking control of it, I'll see you at the finish line. The staggering thing in this whole thing is the members of Tom's Army are down to about, 203. Something that I don't actively consume my mind with anymore. Because the harder I try, the less and less people stick around. So that means I'm doing something right. So in the numbers it might not show, but in the minds that are being accumulated and acquired and put together through the Telegram, through the comments, through these constant updates, I know I've got the right bunch. I can point out 13 people right now, and some people, 13 people. You find 13 random people that can believe the same thing, but also bring something so big to the table because they can do the charts as good, if not better than I can. It's just my adaptation that I can put crypto, commodities, the precious metals, the world economy, foreign assets and stocks, the 10-year, 5-year, 1 year, the government bonds and all that alike. Nobody's better. I learned from the best of minds like Gregory Mannarino, Peter Schiff, Mike Maloney, Robert Kiyosaki, Jordan Peterson, and there's many more that I always fail to mention. I didn't get to where I was at by accident, folks. And it's going to be a lot harder for me to get to where I want to go. But guess what? If you believe in me the way I believe in myself, because after all, if I don't believe in myself, what the hell should you believe in me for? It's like I keep saying, my one promise that I can continue to make to each and every one of you, or two promises. One, you're going to be part of two different bull markets at the same time, simultaneously following each other. The gold, silver bull market is going to be unlike anything anybody who holds precious metals at my age of 39 has ever felt. But because we've been buying it the way we've been buying it, it's not like I just started in 2023, folks. I've got a little history now. I started doing this in March of 2021, and I've been showing you the way. I've showed you not to buy gold at 2,000 and how to wait until it was at the 1,600 mark. So if you're paying attention to what I'm showing you, you're going to be on the right track. So in conclusion, you got to follow my lead. It's that simple. There's not very many people that can do what I do, and not very many people that can change their circumstances based on what I do. So watch this. Pay attention to the 371 level. If we can hold that, we're obviously going to continue rising up to the... It's exactly what I showed you. Take it in steps. So 371, let's see if we hold that. If we do, we continue on to the next threshold I talked about. We see if Bitcoin can hold 18,600 and then see if we can continue up to the 20,800 plus level. And real quick, like I promised, the gold silver chart, it's at 79.580. And everybody tells me, well, when do I buy silver? Where the fuck were you at when I was telling you to buy silver when the gold silver ratio was all the way up at 97 to 1? Do you guys realize I've coached you through this from September of last year? It was 96.47 to 1. I bought so much silver. I haven't bought any silver since it came down here. None. I didn't buy any commodities now in the last month. Because we're on this little push. And the reality is on the gold silver chart, unless it breaks back over 80.80, we might have a big dump. So if we get rejected there, I'll buy some more silver. But the difference is now... It took 96 ounces of silver to get 1 ounce of gold when I did that back then. Now, it only takes, we'll just say 80. That means you get to keep 16 ounces of silver and still get your ounce of gold. That's how you silver stack. Not a lot of people understand silver stacking But if you buy it when the ratio is 96 to 1, like I showed each and every one of you to do when it was 90 to 96, today at 79.4 to 1, you can give them 79.4 ounces of your silver and they will give you 1 ounce of gold. Had you have done that in September of last year, you would have to give them 96 ounces. So what did we do? We said, fuck buying gold. We bought silver, and we'll continue to buy silver. And when it gets down to 20 or 30 to 1, I think it's going to 13 to 1 ultimately, I will exchange my silver for beautiful, luxurious, expensive bars of gold. But I'm not buying all that silver right now, I'm not buying the gold all then. I'm trading the silver at quote at 96 to 1, and I'm going to push it off to some asshole who thinks 13 to 1 is a good ratio. Even though it is, because it should technically be about 3 to 1 based on asset. So take that for what it's worth. If you want to join Tom's Army, like you should, and show me the support that you should, because after all, you want to keep me here. The last thing you want me to do is jump ship, which I never will. But somebody with a weaker mind would be like, you know what? I am severely underpaid, but it only takes one. Only takes one person in the future, or today for that matter, to pay it forward and to share my shit. It's that simple. Look in the video description below if you want to join Tom's Army. You want to get on 2 exchanges that you don't have to pay spot fees. I'm not getting paid to say this. I get very little back in return. But I made a huge mistake when I first started buying crypto. I was buying on Uphold and selling on Uphold. Well, guess what ended up happening? I got killed with spot fees. So now if I can transfer it from BitGet, like XRP, on the XRP ledger, I just buy it, send it back to Uphold if I want to, and then the buy, no spot fees, sell, no spot fees. And you know what? If you don't care about the spot fees, switch anyhow and try it like that. And then what you save, you can send me by a membership of Tom's Army. So if you can't afford Tom's Army and you're paying spot fees, you have nobody to blame. And you know what? You don't even have to blame anybody because you shouldn't have to support my channel. But if you want to and you're trying to find a way to get a little bit of expendable cash and you pay spot fees, there's one easy way to do it. And to show your appreciation, join Tom's Army. Wink, wink.